Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
No one likes to lose personal items, but some of them can be recovered. Among them is a driver's license. In life, different situations occur, as a result of which a driver can lose such an important and necessary document. The result is the same everywhere. There are no rights, and therefore it is necessary to return them somehow. At the legislative level, there is a special procedure for such situations. With its help, motorists will understand exactly what they need to do, where to go, how much to pay, and in what time to get the coveted driver's license. First actions of a driver. Every motorist will naturally wonder what to do if he or she suddenly loses his or her driver's license. To begin with, do not panic. They can be restored, and this procedure is not so complicated. It is worth starting with simple truths. Driver's license, which is a personal document of a person, likes careful storage and appropriate attitude. Therefore, every motorist is obliged to treat the document carefully, to use for its storage only the safest and most reliable places, to minimize the likelihood of theft or loss. But this advice is unlikely to help those who have already lost their license, and now only think about the issue of its restoration. As soon as you find that the document is not in its place, stop and think whether you have really lost it. After all, quite often it happens that a person forgets where he put his personal belongings, moved to another pocket, or one of the relatives accidentally removed the license when he put the house in order. The advice may seem paradoxical, but it is better to make sure in advance that the document is really gone. Try to examine all possible places, namely, pockets in the clothes you've been wearing lately, purses, handbags, the interior of your car, apartment, shelves, drawers, cabinets, etc. It has happened many times that a person has already started the restoration procedure, but in the end, a couple of days later, he or she finds the document somewhere under the seat, in the inside pocket of a jacket, and other places that he or she had simply forgotten about. If you manage to find it, it will significantly save time, nerves, and money, since the restoration provides for mandatory payment of the state duty. Organize a search with the whole family. If you realize that the rights were really lost, then you can with a clear conscience to engage in restoration. Quite often the rights are stolen on purpose, in order to further use the documents for personal gain. If your documents are stolen, you can go to the police and write a statement. But experienced motorists do not advise you to do this. The problem is that while the report is being processed, a criminal case is being opened, and a search is allegedly underway, you will not be able to recover your rights. That is why most people who face theft keep silent about this incident and restore it because of the loss. All the same, the old document will be canceled, and fraudsters will not be able to do anything with it. But the earlier you start the procedure, the better. The restoration procedure is carried out through the Traffic Police Department, and it is not necessary to apply to the very department where you once received the rights. This is done at the place of residence or propiska. The issue of temporary authorization. Some motorists who themselves have not faced the need to restore documents due to their loss for a long time may recommend contacting the traffic police in order to obtain a temporary permit. A few years ago, when a person restored his driver's license when he lost it, he received a temporary permit. The duration of its validity was 1 or 2 months. The procedure was not complicated, but such a document was issued for a separate state fee. Its size was 800 rubles. But in 2018, a decision was made, according to which the fee for a temporary driver's license was canceled as a result, as well as the very concept of temporary driver's license. From now on, such a concept does not exist in normative documents. This means only one thing. Now it is impossible to obtain a temporary permit, since no structures do not issue it. Recovery procedure. Then there is a legitimate question about how to correctly restore the rights after their loss. This procedure involves several steps, as a result of which a person receives the document in hand. To do everything competently and quickly, it is necessary to answer several main questions: where to go, what documents to take, how much money to pay, how to pass the exam. Also relevant for many is the question of getting a discount when paying the state duty. Where to go? The primary issue is finding an organization that will handle driver's license reinstatement. Here the answer is unambiguous. It is the traffic police. Moreover, a motorist who has lost his license can apply to any convenient subdivision of the traffic police. At present, residence in the subject of the Russian Federation, where you want to carry out this procedure, is not required. So you can apply to any department. Even if you went on business to another city where the incident occurred, then there you can also apply to the traffic police with the appropriate request. That is, according to the law, recovery is carried out at the place of application. There you are obliged to provide you with all the information and provide a service to replace the rights when they are lost at the rates stipulated by the legislation. Read also, the best sites for the sale of cars, rating of Russia required documents when replacing a driver's license due to its loss. It is necessary to prepare a certain package of documents. Moreover, it is better to know this list in advance, so that literally for one visit to the traffic police department to solve all your questions. It is necessary to know what the applicant needs when losing his driver's license. The list of documents is provided in paragraph 30 of the rules for conducting examinations for the right to drive a vehicle and the issuance of a license. These rules provide for the procedure for issuing national driver's licenses in the Russian Federation. The list consists of application, passport, or other document to confirm identity, medical report, not always, the old license if it is available. As for the situation with loss, some clarifications should be made. Application. Without a special application for the loss of a driver's license in the case of deprivation or ordinary loss, no one will issue you a new document. The application is usually written in a free form, but it is better to take an example sample and formalize the document. The relevant samples are available directly at the Department of the Traffic Police. In the application, it should be indicated that you are asking to issue you a document to replace the one that was lost or stolen. You can write the application at home or directly on the spot. The second option is preferable, since the department has a sample, to which there will definitely be no claims. Passport or other document. Standard paper when filing, which is required to identify the driver. Office staff are obliged to know exactly who is applying for such a service and that he is a motorist. Medical certificate. You do not need to present a medical certificate if you lose your driver's license. This document is no longer mandatory in case of theft or loss of the license. But at the request of the driver himself, the conclusion of the medical commission can be presented. The advantage of such a decision is that the presence of the certificate will allow you to get a new license for the full term, that is, for the next 10 years. Driver's license. In a situation with loss, this document cannot be presented in any way. It is important to understand that there is a common electronic database in the traffic police. Information about all drivers who received and reissued the license for the last 20 years are already present in the electronic register. Therefore, such motorists do not need to present additional documents. All information about them is contained in the database. But in certain cases, an old-style document like a driver's card may be required. It is relevant for those who lost their driver's license with the issue date more than 20 years ago, when the electronic database did not exist yet. Since this situation is rarely encountered, the vast majority of motorists only need to present the above list of documents. The application and passport are often enough to get a new license. Cost. If a motorist loses his or her driver's license, he or she will have to go through the restoration procedure. It is not free of charge. The law provides for payment for this service, which is provided by the traffic police. To pay the state duty, you will definitely not have to go broke. But still, there is a state duty, and it provides for two options. 2,000 rubles. In such an amount will cost the issuance of standard driver's licenses, which are made on a plastic base. This is the most common option, which is used by most motorists. From the old paper driver's license has long been abandoned, and therefore you can only get a plastic, 3,000 rubles. So cost also plastic rights, but already a more modern sample. They are called a certificate of the new generation. A distinctive feature of the document is that the plastic has a built-in information carrier. Given the fact that the restoration costs 2,000 to 3,000 rubles, and the document is issued for 10 years, the costs are not so great. You don't need to pay anything extra. Discount it cannot be said that 2 to 3,000 rubles is not a lot of money for everyone. Some people can hardly allocate such an amount for the restoration of lost rights, so they are looking for ways to save money. It is indeed possible to restore the license at a reduced price. To do this, it is worth using the possibilities of the portal of state services. There is a discount of 30% if the driver uses the site. This will reduce the initial cost from 2 to 1.4 thousand rubles. The discount rule was implemented at the beginning of January 2017. At the moment, it is valid until January 1, 2019. It is worth noting that in the rules of recovery, when listing the documents required for submission to the traffic police, there is no receipt. But after paying the state duty, it is recommended to take it with you. Read also, how to extend the life of car wipers. It is assumed that after payment, all information goes into the electronic database. So the traffic police officer dealing with your issue will be able to confirm the fact of payment through the computer. But the electronic database can hang. The data are not updated immediately, and you have to wait for the resumption of work. In order not to waste time on this, the representative of the traffic police can use an ordinary receipt and continue the procedure. As practice shows, the system periodically hangs and is not immediately updated. The best solution is to take the receipt with you. There is nothing complicated in this, but it will be possible to significantly save time. When the documents are collected, the state duty is paid. You can go to the branch, submit all the papers and wait for the issuance of a driver's license. Examinations. Many drivers after the loss of a driver's license begin to worry that they will have to take exams again, take tests to restore documents. But under current rules, there is no requirement to take qualifying exams. The driver will not be forced to learn tickets or undergo practical tests with the inspector. It is enough to submit documents, write an application, and pay the state duty. Other actions in case of loss are not provided. You should not believe the myths that are actively walking on thematic forums. Issue deadline. Some motorists confuse reinstatement with obtaining a new driver's license. And here it is largely a question of the time period during which the restored documents will be valid. It is important to understand that lost driver's licenses are restored. The only difference between the new plastic card and the old one, which the driver lost, is the presence of the inscription duplicate in the column for special marks. Otherwise, it is an exact copy of the lost document. Therefore, the rights after restoration will be as valid as the document before the loss. Often you can hear that after the restoration of these rights will be valid for the next 10 years. It is not so. It is necessary to start from the expiration date of the lost rights. If they expire in 2019, then after restoration in the column with the expiration date will also be indicated in 2019. But it's not all bad. Since the spring of 2017, new legislative acts introduced the possibility, after restoration, to make the license valid for 10 years. In order for the restored license to serve for such a period of time, it is enough to add the relevant medical certificate to the main package of documents when submitting documents. After passing the medical examination and presenting its results to the traffic police, you can easily restore the lost driver's license and use it for the next 10 years. This innovation is especially relevant to those whose driver's license expiration date is coming to an end, and the usual restoration does not make much sense. It is easier now to pass a check in a medical institution, get a certificate, and add it to the application and passport. Penalties in case of loss. Lastly, it is worth discussing the issue of penalties for the loss of rights, which are provided by the legislation. In the legislation, there is no such a notion that for the loss of his own document, the driver is obliged to pay a fine. That is, the loss of a driver's license does not qualify as an administrative offense. A fine is possible only in the situation when the driver gets behind the wheel without having the authorization document. And in this case, you will have to pay 500 rubles. It can be said that there is nothing complicated about restoring a driver's license when it is lost. The procedure has been significantly simplified over the past few years. There is an opportunity to solve the problem with the help of the portal of state services and even get a solid discount. The essence of the process is extremely simple. The driver collects the necessary documents, pays the state duty, writes an application, and receives his restored rights. Taking into account certain nuances, you can immediately issue a new document for 10 years and also pay less by 30% of the current amount of state duty. In conclusion, losing your driver's license can be a frustrating experience, but restoring it doesn't have to be complicated. By following the steps we discussed, reporting the loss, gathering necessary documents, and submitting your application, you can efficiently navigate the process. Remember to check your local regulations, as requirements may vary by state. Stay organized and proactive, and you'll have your license back in no time. Thank you for watching, and drive safely.